Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host, KWCs, and with me today, I have Fat Bacon Unicorn, Alex, Nagoda, and Joe. And today, we will be looking over Match 128, Grand King Ghidorah vs. Monster X, Orga, Gigan, Megalon, and Cyber Godzilla by Joshua Reynolds.
God damn it.
As Alex continually swears in the background.
I hope my death makes more sense than my life.
Planet X.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Planet X. It had been a host for thousands of battles. Over a dozen races had laid a claim on the world in the past, the latest being the treacherous Exilians. No doubt the planet would continue to be a hotspot for alien wars, but today there would be no battle for ownership of the planet. The resources had long since run dry, the last drop of water gone years ago. However, the planet was still useful. It was a perfect spot for an alien base to be used as a headquarters during the next invasion attempt of Earth. Year after year, the aliens returned here to lick their wounds. First there were the Exilians, then the surviving Kilakians followed suit. After their failure, the Nebulans retreated here, and soon helped the Cetopians flee the Earth and regroup there as well. Those dastardly third planet aliens were the next in the never-ending line. It repeated like this for decades, race after race sent packing from the Earth. What was stopping their high-tech weapons and ruthless galactic demons? A single creature, Godzilla.
Godzuki.
Dig blasted.
Vanilla.
Dig blasted. The Leviathans would fail in the late 90s. The Millennials tried in 2000 and were sent packing. The Exilians tried again in 2004, but failed once more. Hey, that rhymed. Oh well. Nothing could seemingly stop this endless line of failure. Many races now believe the Earth was being protected not just by Godzilla, but an even higher power. Some races, the most feared in the universe, were afraid to even enter the Milky Way galaxy. It was now said to be cursed. Any race beyond human to set foot on Earth would fall into obliteration. But the Exilian warlord had one last beacon of hope. They sent word out to any party whom wished the Earth to be theirs. It was no longer a matter of simple invasion, but pride. How could such a weakly armed small planet defeat the most powerful races in the universe, even with the aid of Godzilla? No, it couldn't be allowed. So the leader summoned them all. To any race that would listen, he proposed a final assault on the Earth. Combine their technologies, put their differences aside, kill Godzilla, destroy human civilization, stop this reading. And it was here that they had already made their mistake, for the Exilians had enslaved the monster beyond their scope of power. Their ancestors may have been able to tame a lesser of its kind, but today they were playing with more than just fire. Its long-lost brother, God rest its soul, may have been known as a planet killer, but he was a galaxy killer. But a time of hibernation allowed it to be captured and controlled. In quotes. The three-headed serpent perched atop a massive cliff. His 6 eyes looked down at the series of bubble-like structures sitting on the surface like blisters. It blinked and wanted to attack, but couldn't. In all 3 of his serpentine heads, Grand King Ghidorah housed a brain. The Exilians controlled his body only. They couldn't tame the raging, angry mind of the serpent. For too long he was forced to watch what they wanted, attack what they disliked, and destroy victims far too fast than he liked. Unable to move, Ghidorah could only look at the outer space monsters summoned to Planet X for this grand meeting of vile minds. He saw Gigan and Megalon. respective representatives of the Nebulans and Cetopians. He somehow had memories of his fallen brethren joining forces with a cyborg much like this one. Then there was Orga, a hulking brute of unbridled power and pawn of the Millenniums. And who could forget Cyber Godzilla? We have. The dumb Leviathans actually believed their resurrected iguana was the true Monster King. Then his 6 crimson eyes saw the last creature, a skeletal warrior sitting in solitude. It looked like an undead fiend, body entirely black with skeletal armor. Unable to move of his own will, Grand Ghidorah could only think and dream up the ways he'd slaughter every one of them and their masters. It would only be a matter of time. The Hydra was taken from his thoughts by the arrival of more alien craft. The Simians, or the aliens from the third planet of the black hole, offered no new monsters to the party, just their high-tech weaponry which was beyond that of the other races. They were even the source of the control device implanted in Ghidorah's central brain that allowed the Exilians control. The monster felt himself stand up and move, being controlled like a child's toy. It was something he hated more than life itself. His body turned, looking in the distance. He could feel the muscles in his wings start to move. He was preparing to fly. Then he heard the sounds of the other space monsters. Their assault was soon to begin. This enraged Ghidorah even more. He focused his mind, trying his best to free himself from this god-forsaken slavery. His feet left the ground, and he was soon flying against his will. Then it happened. His eyes closed. He controlled them. His rage was building every passing second, and with his rage, his psychic powers. He focused them even more. It took every ounce of his ancient, powerful mind, but something broke. His body fell from the air, falling against the hard surface like a rock. He did it. Somehow he did it. He had freed himself from the alien slavery. The ground shattered like glass underneath his golden body. But the Hydra stood up. The Hydra's demonic cackle rang in the ears of alien and kaiju alike. The demon of destruction, the god of devastation, was pissed. Edgy!
Holy shit.
Not funny, you didn't laugh, bro.
I could cut myself with that edge.
I'm bleeding right now. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, if Showa Mechagodzilla was in here, he would be in this match too.
He would have been, but basically, the Sibians only supply technology because Showa Mechagodzilla hadn't been implemented yet. Inside the meeting, the young...
bullshit.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why he didn't come up sooner. That just seemed kind of... whatever. Inside the meeting... Inside the meeting, the young Exilian leader looked on in shock. His eyes opened wide. He screamed, "What? Impossible!" He shouted. He spun around as he whipped out his laser gun. He pulled the trigger. He stood on his head. A strand of orange fire, shooting a simian ambassador. "This is your fault.
Damn.
Your technology failed," he cried as the alien ape fell to a heap. The other green... The other green-faced ape-like humanoids pulled out their weapons from their silver jumpsuits. In a second, the alien factions were pointing weapons at one another. The Kilakian queen sighed, looking at the screen. "Do you not see? Ghidorah is a space monster, but no match for the rest of our monsters." A human-sized millennium bobbed its head up and down. Slowly, the Sibians lowered their weapons. One of the aliens leaned over the corpse of the fallen monkey, grabbing its weapon.
Monkey.
Alright, pass.
Oh, perfect. I get dialogue.
Hooray!
You're a fool if you think your M powers are a match for us. Mughal. Is it Mughal? How do you say that?
Mughal, yeah.
Mughal.
You're wrong.
Mughal sounds better. The lord of the third planet declared, holstering the weapon on the left side of his belt. Suddenly, the orange-suited Nebulan spoke up. watching as Mughal stepped away from the Exilian leader. Perfect peace cannot be acquired for any of us. Until Ghidorah is stopped, he will be the only one who gets peace should we fail. The Leviathan warlord's eyes flashed green. We agree for the cockroach people. His comment made the Nebulans cast a dirty glance. We must fight this Ghidorah. I forgot how many. Let me go back up really quick.
15. Don't worry, I got your back, man.
Yeah.
Just keep
No,
reading.
I mean, I'm trying to remember how many I've done already. 1, 2.
No, I got your back.
Three.
I got your back.
Okay. The Exilian leader began to laugh hysterically. Says the guy who thought an oversized iguana was Godzilla. The hovering inhuman made his way close to the latex-clad young leader. Before he could close the distance, the Millennium outstretched a tentacle to block his path. The time for fight between us will come later, after humanity is crushed and Godzilla is killed. Until then, we must fight together and start with this Ghidorah, the Kalakian queen whispered. The Cetopian Emperor Antonio had remained quiet during the whole situation, knowing firsthand that even if he got involved, all these other guys would suddenly start shooting. He stood back, dressed in only a white robe. He suddenly shouted, catching the group of invaders off guard. He threw his fist into the air. Megalon! In response to the Cetopian, the Exilian shouted even louder, Monster X! Mughal
Not
rolled
funny,
his eyes
don't
and
laugh.
sighed. Damn morons! Grand Ghidorah wasted no time. He steadily approached the series of dome structures, which housed dozens of invasion fleets. This time, they'd be destroyed. But suddenly, he found himself against an army. Appearing from the opposite side of the structure came the legion of alien Kaiju, bred for the destruction of Godzilla and humanity. That is a long name for a legion. You know, like you'd think they'd be just like the Legion of Kaiju, you know, like Legion of Villains, but nope. Legion of Alien Kaiju bred for the destruction of Godzilla and humanity.
That's the full title.
The space demon cackled, his call sounding as if laughter. How many more do I have?
Just keep going. Just keep going.
All right. In a
God, it's a good
surprising
thing I don't
move,
have to pay attention.
Cyber Godzilla attacked first. The cyborg charged forward, rockets launching from its spine-mounted cannons. The explosives detonated against Grand Ghidorah's beautiful body, showering it with smoke and spark. Through the destruction, Grand Ghidorah still marched undeterred. The Hydra's triple maws opened up, firing beams of swirling energy. Cyber Godzilla leapt to the side, but the blast hit Megalon. The insect god was thrust back, landing with a thud and kicking out in every direction. Orga retaliated, lowering his hulking form. His shoulder cannon charged with energy and fired, blasting Ghidorah with a thunderous beam of death. The Hydra's clawed feet dug trenches in the rocks as he was pushed back by the incredible force of the assault. As the assault ended and Grand Ghidorah staggered, Gigan charged in from the side. The red-eyed mechanical nightmare swung wildly with his frightening blades. One slice tore a gash in Ghidorah's flawless wings, while another slashed into his golden chest. The Hydra fired back instantly, red lightning surging from the clawed tips of each wing. The bolt smashed against Gigan, engulfing the nightmare machine in sparks and smoke. As Gigan stumbled back, Megalon leapt overhead. The drill-armed insect came down with his metal limbs, and, like a hammer, they smashed into Ghidorah's left head. A loud clang followed. The Ghidorah again fired his wing lightning. Megalon cried in pain, backing away before Ghidorah's center head fired his almighty gravity beam. The beam struck Megalon in the face, making the Cetopian god fall back again. As Ghidorah stood tall, golden beams washed over his body. Not far away, Monster X stood, The warrior's eyes burned with hatred before firing again. The bolts, however, never landed their mark. Ghidorah's light barrier protected him from such attacks, especially ones as pathetic as these. They reminded Ghidorah of his own, just more inferior. The Hydra smirked before cackling angrily. All three of his maws snapped open and fired back, shooting Monster X in the face and shoulders with all three beams made famous for the destruction of worlds. The skeletal creature fell to a knee, crying. As the assault stopped, Grand Ghidorah suddenly cried in pain. Behind him, Gigan had managed to drive both blades into his back.
Ooh.
Keep going?
Sorry.
Two more.
Two more? Okay, gotcha. Struggling, Grand Ghidorah lifted into the air. Before he could get too high, Megalon suddenly smashed into his front side, driving his back deeper into the metal blades of Gigan. Megalon came back down, while Gigan and Ghidorah landed in a heap. Ghidorah managed to separate himself from Gigan while firing his 3 gravity beams in every direction, forcing Megalon to back off. As the Hydra stood up, Cyber Godzilla again came from the side. A blue beam of atomic fury launched from the beast's maw. The beam washed over Ghidorah like water, unable to penetrate his shield. Before the cyborg could retreat again, Ghidorah fired his beams once more. In a flash, the 3 streams combined into one jagged beam of destruction. The beam ripped into Cyber Godzilla's head, splitting it like an orange. Flesh and Leviathan armor flew in every direction as the headless corpse fell uselessly to the side, gore spilling from where its skull once sat. And that's perfect right there where that thing ends. Pass.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The Leviathan overlord cursed. Hey, that's my line, the Exilian leader complained, turning his gaze to the Leviathan's outburst. Orga looked at Cyber Godzilla's remains curiously. The hunchback freak groaned before stepping over the remains. The creature debated feeding on them to enhance his physical abilities, but realized that such a frail monster had nothing to offer. As he slowly approached Ghidorah, a golden beam lanced through his shoulder and dented, blowing up massive chunks. Orga fell to the side, crying aloud. But now Monster X had recovered. The warrior shook his head angrily. As Orga fell, he ran through. He caught Ghidorah off guard and slammed 2 massive fists into his muscular chest. Not surprised, Ghidorah didn't even amuse the monster's response. As another flurry of punches bounced off his golden scales, Grand King Ghidorah's middle neck came down, wrapping around Monster X's throat anaconda. The warrior began to struggle, but as the hold continued, his blows got weaker as Monster X's maw began to foam. The alien kaiju had one last option. His eyes flashed, firing point blank. The beam sparked against Ghidorah's face. At this range, they were able to penetrate the barrier. This, however, only enraged Ghidorah. As Monster X gasped and opened his mouth for air, Ghidorah's right head shot out. His jaws locked around Monster X's in a sort of grotesque kiss. Before X could do anything, a gravity beam was catapulted down his throat and into his body.
Whoa!
Ghidorah...
Did Emmett just predict the kiss of death?
Yeah.
Damn. This is
I hate that
this
fact.
is the second KWC match where they predicted the future, and with Grand King Ghidorah. Like, sure, it may not be Ghidorah connected this time around, but frick.
Wait, what was the first time?
125 with the Ghidorah and the Thunderstorm.
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
So
Man, Legendary is just taking everything from the KWC now, aren't they?
so legendary takes from the KWC. Who knew?
I demand a paycheck now.
Well, hopefully,
You were still in
hopefully they take,
diapers.
hopefully they take from match 32, where King Kong shoves a building up his ass.
You mean 38? That's
Same
match
thing.
38, Joe.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, continue reading, Bacon.
Ghidorah's center neck loosened the hold, so the beam ripped into his stomach, tearing it apart. Smoke and blood began to spew from the corners of Monster X's jaws before the jagged beam erupted from his. Oh my. Ghidorah separated his heads from Monster X. The monster's burning red eyes had dimmed his soul. He fell back, smoke spewing from his maw and burning. The once mighty Monster X was dead. The Zillion's brow twitched, and a vein on his forehead pulsated like an overgrown tumor. Tears swelled in his eyes, and his face darkened to a fiery red. The other aliens took a few steps away. Fists dropped. He lowered his pretty face, taking a breath. Why? He asked, powerfully. Why does he keep dying? Why? Miguel leaned over to the Nebulan chairman, whispering to his ears, probably because Monster X sucks.
Gosh, that's terrible. Ugh.
Wait. Why did it say Muggle? I'm pretty sure the character talking was actually MM. He made his way into the match.
Yeah, he's just an alien in the background.
Yeah,
He's just
he's an
missing
ape.
the second M, don't you know?
Yeah, monster
MM being
Moogle.
an alien makes sense.
The chairman simply nodded in agreement. Standing above the corpse of Monster X, Grand King Ghidorah cackled in glee, but his victory was short-lived. Gigan and Megalon charged in from the side. Megalon's mouth launched burning orbs of napalm, each one exploding on Ghidorah's side. The Titan was bathed in fire, but a beat of his wings dispelled the deadly blaze. Gigan suddenly stopped and fired his cluster beam, but like many beams before it failed to penetrate Ghidorah's shield. As sparks flew to Ghidorah's feet, Megalon smashed his drills in his chest, making a drum-like sound. Ghidorah lashed out with his left and right hand. Clapping his jaws onto Megalon's antenna, the insect squealed in pain, but was helpless as Ghidorah tore them off. Strands of green and yellow goo spilled from the antenna as the Cetopian beast fell away. Gigan saw his old friend fall and shrieked. His adamant saw activated as he charged forward, thrusting himself at Ghidorah. Oh my! The rotating blades cut into a gash from Ghidorah's chest. The Hydra screamed in fury and jumped up. As Gigan prepared to bring his huge blades down, Ghidorah's two tails launched up between his legs. The spiked mace-like tips whipped around Gigan's neck like ropes. The cyborg cried aloud, but his body was dragged down as Ghidorah landed. Suddenly, Megalon cried in pain. Gigan's body had fallen directly on him, his saw still
Revving.
Thank you.
No problem.
The blades cut through the insect's head and chest like a hot knife through butter. Exoskeleton was shredded like tissue paper as the sharp teeth cut his top half into two pieces.
Oof.
As Megalon's flailing arms ceased, Gigan realized what had happened. As Ghidorah's tail released his neck, the cyborg pushed himself off the ground, looking down at Megalon's head, which was now split into two pieces. Gigan's entire torso was painted with green and yellow gore, along with bits and pieces of Megalon. Do I still go on?
Yes. Just finish up the next set of stars, basically.
Okay. Emperor Antonio took a step forward toward the screen. He reached up, grasping at the air as the screen showed what remains of his god. The man suddenly fell down to his knees, sobbing, "Megalon, rise! Megalon, please!" Suddenly, a laser blast sounded, and the Emperor Zootopia fell to the tidal floor, headless. The ghoul spun his weapon in his hand before holstering it again. "Humans!" The Nebulan looked over to the simian. "Shame. I kind of liked him."
All right, you can pass now. Joe,
Pass.
you're up.
Okay. The cyborg cackled again. He then looked up at the snarling Ghidorah. The Hydra made him kill his longtime best friend and ally. And fuck buddy. Gigan suddenly stood up, his rage burning. Ghidorah's 3 maws fought. Oh shit. I gotta go.
Wait, what?
Bruh.
I gotta leave.
I'll take over for you.
Okay, sorry guys.
All right.
Sorry.
Talk to you later.
All right. See you later, man. Oh, man, come on. There's Alex right now. The friggin' mic image. All right. The cyborg cackled again. He then looked up at the snarling Ghidorah. The Hydra made him kill his longtime best friend and ally. And fuck buddy. Gigan suddenly stood up, his rage burning. Ghidorah's 3 maws opened fired. But Gigan braced himself and protected his face with both mighty blades. Sparks and fire flew in every direction, and through the smoke, Gigan charged. Closing the distance again, the cyborg began to spin, swinging each arm out and whirling like a top. Ghidorah was taken by surprise and cried in pain as the blades made short work of his majestic wings and flesh, fountains of crimson lifting from his build as Gigan's blades tore him like a can opener. The clawed tips of Ghidorah's wings fired again, but purple lightning didn't hamper the infuriated Gigan this time. Wait, weren't they red? Whatever. Being pushed back by the rotating assault, Ghidorah finally jumped away. Gigan stopped his spinning assault and examined his gory blades. Ghidorah's entire upper body was covered in cuts of various size and depth, the biggest being a massive wound across his chest that actually exposed a few ribs. The Hydra cried out in pain, his left head coming down to lick the bleeding wound. I also predicted Kevin. Gigan saw his chance and leaped forward, his right blade coming down like a guillotine on Ghidorah's left neck. The blade cut through the midsection, cutting through the muscle and bone with ease. The head was severed and fell to the rocky surface, flopping like a fish out of water. Ghidorah's other 2 heads cried in pain. Gigan cackled in glee, stomping the severed head into pulp underfoot. As blood continued to spill from Ghidorah's stump, the Hydra's eyes surged with malice. He cried in uncontrollable rage, meeting Gigan in combat again. The cyborg swung his deadly blades, but Ghidorah's remaining heads came down. His center head clamped down on his visor. Applying pressure, the Hydra made a crack form within the thought-to-be unbreakable material. Whoever said that? The cyborg cried, trying to pull away, but suddenly Ghidorah fired his bolt directly into Gigan's eye. The red visor exploded into shards. The cyborg screamed in pain, falling away as sparks and flames spewed from his forehead. Blinded, Gigan continued to flail about on the ground. His buzzsaw activated instantly, but it was futile now. Ghidorah lifted his remaining heads and fired his gravity bolts again, combining them into one beam of destruction. The beam smashed against Gigan's head, decapitating the pride of the Nebulans. His body went limp and his saw turned off. Ghidorah looked at the remains with disgust. Thankfully his stump had stopped bleeding, but he was growing tired. Then he remembered he had forgotten one. The Hydra turned around, but what he saw wasn't just Orga in the distance, but an abomination. The brute didn't attack him like the others had for a reason. He must have already devoured the remains of Monster X. His body was now void of any color, turned entirely black where his flesh was exposed. Monster X's armor, however, now adorned him head to toe. Huge draconic skulls protected each shoulder, and his head had sprouted Monster X's horns. His tail had thinned and forked, turning into a whip-like appendages. But this Orga monstrosity wasn't done. Now it was feeding on the remains of Megalon. Ghidorah couldn't help but watch in awe. Only half of Megalon's gory remains had been devoured, and the changes were already coming. As Orga's massive maw swallowed Megalon, the horns he had sprouted combined and elongated. They formed a single horn with a star-shaped tip, and then 2 antennae sprouted from each side. His red eyes then enlarged, turning into bulbous blood-red eyes. The armor on his back began to change colors, becoming black and yellow like Megalon's. Larger versions of Megalon's mandibles formed on each side of Orga's gaping maw. Megalon's feet vanished into Orga's huge maw, and his jaws clamped shut. The final change came at last as his massive arms began to change. They widened, became metallic, transforming gigantic versions of Megalon's drills. The aliens watching the battle unfold dropped their jaws. It was an awe-inspiring sight. The Exilian leader stepped forward, looking at the screen. Orgalon X. The Chimera of the three Kaiju released a roar louder than any other. A howl unheard of. It would send fear through any other monster, but not Ghidorah. Not the King of Terror. The now two-headed Titan stepped forward. This was the last the alien slave weapons, and then he'd kill them for trying to tame his might. Orga fired first, but not with just a single attack. His bulbous eyes fired bolts of alien energy at Ghidorah, while the star-tipped horn launched a jagged beam of electrical bliss. The two attacks swirled around one another before striking Ghidorah, strong enough to penetrate the shield. The Hydra stumbled back, crackling with energy. As the attack ceased, the planet killer unleashed his own gravity beams. The freak lifted his mighty metallic arms. The drill protected Orga's face, breaking the beam into splinters. As sparks rained to the rocky ground, the Chimera moved forward. Its forked tails beat the ground as brilliance came from its armored shoulder. Just as the powerful concussion beam fired, Ghidorah leaped into the air. Even with shredded wings, he was still able to fly. He flew over the alien and rained death down upon it, the beams breaking through the bone armor, beetle-like shell, and dark flesh. Orga screamed in pain, but as Ghidorah landed a distance away, the gaping wounds already started to close. The ultimate alien looked at Ghidorah, and its mouth belched out a shower of small, car-sized red eyes. The napalm bomb assault pounded Ghidorah, exploding on contact and sticking to his golden flesh. The golden dragon stumbled away, his flesh caught aflame. Orga moved forward, his horn firing another jagged bolt of electricity. The bolt shot through Ghidorah's left wing membrane, punching another hole big enough to birth a whale. Interesting analogy. Ghidorah screamed in agony again, but did the only thing he could, trade beams. Here, I'll take yours, you take mine. Anyway, he launched his gravity beams again, targeting Orga's horn. The beams hit their mark, blowing off the star-shaped weapon. The Chimera cried in pain as the horn fell from his skull, disintegrating to dust as it fell. The bloody wound closed, but the horn didn't grow back. Pass.
God damn it. So what's the deal with airline food, huh? Alright. Fuck. Gotta fucking read this. With a quick flap, Orga leapt into the air.
Wait, you skipped a paragraph.
Shh.
Ghidorah realized as the smoke cleared.
Fuck me. Ghidorah realized this as the smoke cleared. The Hydra charged forward, but beams began to leap from Orga's eyes. The beams, no longer combined with the electrical bolt, failed to penetrate Ghidorah's barrier. This time it blared against the Hydra, closed the distance, but suddenly the massive freak lifted both arms. The huge arms combined, turning to a huge rotating drill. The sound of its spinning was louder than thunder, and the behemoth thrust it forward. Ghidorah just managed to dodge it, leaping into the side. His wings fired their purple lightning, ripping the energy into Orga's body. Just as Ghidorah's feet stomped the ground, the freak shell lifted apart to reveal huge insect wings. Fuck, there's still 13 more. With a quick flap, Orga leapt into the air. The abomination flew slowly before coming down, unable to attain flight for long. Like a falling rock, Orga smashed the ground from several hundred feet up, came down facing Ghidorah, and again spat a volley of napalm bombs. Ghidorah quickly reacted, flapping his gargantuan wings as hard as he could to generate hurricane force winds. The winds caught the bombs, flung them back into Orga. They detonated in contact, covering the brute with a blanket of fire. The giant stumbled about, patting out the flames, licking its armored body as it did so. Ghidorah fired another volley of his gravity beams. The beam struck the right shoulder piece, shattering the draconic skull ornament. The bone exploded, spewing alien lead and fire into the air. Orga cried in pain. Okay. Dumpling away. Its eyes fired again, but the bolts failed to pierce Ghidorah's barrier. Ghidorah pressed the assault, marching forward as his jaws and wings showered the abomination with firepower. Pushed back by the assault, Orga found himself against a massive cliff face. With a thunderous cry, the beast leaped forward and pointed his gigantic drill into the rocky ground. The drill began to spin, chewing up the rock and catapulting at Ghidorah. The quick attack worked in making Ghidorah cease fire, closing his wings to protect his faces from the shower of debris. The Hydra left himself open to attack. As the drills chewed up the ground, Orga's shoulder cannon fired again. God damn it. The beam this time much closer to Ghidorah when fire knocked the King of Terror off his feet. The Hydra's back smashed against the wall, his body skidding across the uneven surface. As he finally began to stop, the Hydra's remaining head shook, clearing the cobwebs before looking back at Orga. Now, several hundred miles away, the King of Terror managed to recover and stand, his head crackling with hatred. The hulking abomination before him roared, banging its metal hands together. As the Hydra stood up weakly, the behemoth charged in as fast as its bone-clad legs could carry him. Ghidorah suddenly cackled in fury and lifted his head as he charged forward, firing bolts from his mauled wings. The attacks exploded on Orga's armored hides, each strike blowing off chunks of flesh and chipping the bony armor. The two eventually collided, but Orga's huge asshole sprang open, over triple its original size. The creature bit down on Ghidorah's right head quickly. The exposed the brown turds began to change to golden, overlapping scales. I had no idea why I was making that joke, but whatever. Trying to devour the King of Terror, the abomination began to drag in more of the head until he was down to the base of his dick. The center head kept firing, blasting at the beetle, like shell and breaking in numerous pieces. Suddenly, from the abomination shell, replicas of Ghidorah's wings sprang forward. God damn, when does it end? Ghidorah realized what was happening, bit down on the side of Orga's face. He ripped at the bulbous eyes, making the jaws open to scream. He pulled away, tearing with him the creature's huge eyes. The features he had adopted from Ghidorah began to wither, returning to the black flesh and beetle-like armor. The chimera screamed in frustration and waded forward, reaching out with its huge arms trying to grasp Ghidorah. As its jaws hung wide open, Ghidorah offered it a different type of meal. His maws opened fire, firing their gravity beams. The beams combined into one and were aided by the Hydra's wing lightning. The assault speared into Orga's massive mouth, and the creature screamed in agony as the blast ripped through its body. The monster stumbled back, but its gaping mouth was unable to close as a ball of fire raced up. Good gravy.
You're almost there.
Suddenly,
You're almost there. Hang in there.
You can do it.
No. Suddenly its back exploded, tearing apart as Ghidorah's attack ripped through it. An expanding fireball ripped through Orga, and finally a secondary explosion tore it in half. A tremendous shockwave made Ghidorah stumble back as the napalm bomb reserved deep with its body detonated. The chimera whined, flailing about, but its body was self-destructing. Another explosion tore out what remained of its belly, making it fall forward, remaining upright only because of its huge drills stabbing into the ground. The creature's skull finally exploded. Chunks of flesh and armor rained down upon Ghidorah as he watched the horrifying thing collapse, its entire body slowly disintegrate into ash. What remained of Orga burned in a blaze caused by its own very own napalm. But Ghidorah wasn't finished. Tired and angry, he turned around, his crimson eyes narrowing in on the alien domes a short distance away. God damn, there's still like 5 more. Inside the base, the extra testicles felt a shiver run down their spines. They were doomed. This is your fault, Mugu declared, pointing his weapon at the Exilian, firing and killing the youthful aliens instantly. Wanted to make sure I got to do that before killing. Wanted to make sure I got to do that before him. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this thing's making me delirious. As the elders looked at the remains of the Exilian, several began to flee for the exit. The Nebulon, Cherubman, and the Kilakian Queen remained behind, knowing full well that an enraged Ghidorah wasn't something no mortal soul, alien, earthborn could escape. Perfect peace, here we come, the chairman declared, closing his eyes. Out Morse Ghidorah launched a gravity beam at the structures. The alien buildings were obliterated in less than a second. Thousands of lives ended in a brilliant flash of light. Nothing was left after the golden bolt was cast out upon him, just blazing inferno of twisterings. The Hydra was tired. He cackled in wicked glee, having a strange feeling of satisfaction. It was a day of carnage unlike any other. Most importantly, he was free, and once again he could destroy the galaxies that dared spawn him. The King of Terror, the Galaxy Obliterator, the Planet Destroyer, Grand King Ghidorah was back. Winner, everyone in my will.
Everyone in my will. I'll quote Alex as at this perfect moment. Perfect peace, here we come. Alright. So, I think this is, for me, this is very similar to 125 in that a lot of it feels very unimpressive. Obviously you have the setup, which is, at least I think the setup here is handled just a little better compared to 125, but it's still, like, once the actual fight gets rolled, like, I did kind of like the part where Grand King Ghidorah had to break himself out of control. That was kind of nice. Like, sure, there wasn't a whole lot, it was just like, oh, I'm gonna use mind control, I'm gonna use my mind control, break myself out, but that is, like, a decent bit. I did like that part, but once the actual fight kind of got going, it kind of reminded me of Final Wars. A couple of highlights, but it almost feels like everyone kind of dies too easily. Really, with the exception of Gigan, everyone else just kind of dies. Sure, Megalon gets a surprise. Megalon's probably the only real creative death in this one. And then
What was it?
Like, I mean, having crushing Gigan on top of Megalon and having be buzzsawed, it's like, that's fine.
Oh. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I know you weren't. It's okay, buddy. I know, you only had to read 14 paragraphs where I had to read 29. It's alright.
It's okay, you get a cookie for even trying.
I feel like I want a bullet in my head.
I hope your death makes more sense than your life.
But some of the monster, like Cyber Godzilla was just pretty much dead instantly. Monster X, dead instantly. Like, Gigan and Megalon were really the only ones who had any limelight to shine, and then Orga kind of serves as the big bad for the end. I'll admit, it does kind of pick up with Orgalon X. That was a decent fight. I don't feel like it lasted too long, but at least relative to the others, it felt fine. So it's like, yeah, it does kind of pick up when Orga comes up. So that's probably my only real highlight with this particular one, is just Orgalon X. Other than that, this doesn't feel as weak as some of his other ones that we'll eventually get to. But I also can't say. Yeah, I think that there are definitely elements of this I still feel very unimpressed by. So my old feelings of this match still kind of hold up. Like, I do like Orgalon X now a little more, but other than that, though, the rest of it's just kind of meh. It's just like, oh, Grand King Ghidorah is the big bad, he's the most powerful, and then Gigan gets a special spotlight, everyone dies, except Orga. Orga gets to be awesome, but Ghidorah is even more awesomer. Like I said, it's a very Final Wars-y sort of mentality. And it just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of go along for the ride, and that's about it. That's me, though. Bacon, what'd you think of the match?
It exists. It's all right. Like the setup's nice. I felt that Cyber Godzilla's death was like being KO punched by Little Mac and Smash. You fucking die instantly.
Nice read off what you posted, bro.
Yeah, it was so epic. I don't really know what to...
Okay, I'm sorry, I just looked at one of the threads. What's going on right now? That's great. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
It's so good. I don't... This match exists. I don't know how to express my feeling toward this match.
Anyway. Alright. Yeah. Was that all you had to say, or you good?
Yeah, pretty much.
Alright. Alex, what'd you think of it for the 14 paragraphs that you read?
I hate it. I fucking hate it. It was terribly boring.
Sad, because
Sad kazoo. Anyway. Nagoda, what'd you think of it?
Don't never make me read something like this again.
You're gonna read something like this again.
Fuck.
It was pretty good, at least for the parts I read. Some fun dialogue in there. And Orga hybrid, that's a good part, for one. Was this the start of the Orga hybrids, or
No, we had a couple.
Like
I think Orga's first match had a Orga Megalon hybrid. I think this might be the first crazy Orga hybrid, like where it's more than just Orga and the other monster. I think.
okay.
Wait, I take
close
everything
the
back. Wait, sorry, Nagoda. I take everything back. I had the best swine ever. Monster X sucks.
Wow, I'm
Take back
totally
all my
not
criticism.
biased. I'm totally not doing this match out of spite.
Wow, I'm completely clever for self-referencing my own biases in a match.
I'm such a great writer.
Final Wars was so bad that I'm gonna make a terrible match just to show you how terrible Monster X.
All of my matches contain Monster X getting his ass kicked. Don't I make great matches, kids?
Remember that time he fucking died to Baggin? Baggin.
No, that was Tom who wrote that.
That was Tom, yeah.
That was
Same difference.
Like, only difference is Tom doesn't cry about it.
Alright, yeah. I also have to say the banner for this one is a little, like, I think it's fine with, like, it's one against many, and it's like, oh, Jupiter, Planet X, some mountains. This image in particular always felt a little off to me. It just felt a little too low res compared to some of the others. I don't know. Is that just me? I don't know.
Nah.
Just, yeah, something feels a little off for this one.
One thing I'd like to say about the banner.
Yeah.
Where did they get that picture of Grand King Ghidorah?
Oh, it's somewhere. I'm more than sure it's somewhere. I thought I've seen it around. Because that's a nice image of Grand King Ghidorah. Or at least a nice pose for him. Just gotta find it. Jerk.
Mm-hmm. There's the generic C-Rex
from the poster.
Oh, for the
Cyber
poster?
Godzilla pose.
Oh, that might be from the poster.
What?
Yeah.
Is it from the poster?
Ghidorah.
Alex, are you on
from
the
the
poster?
poster.
It is from the poster.
Yeah, I told you.
Holy crap! No way! Alex,
So the
high
poster has the
five!
best pose.
I can't right now. My hands are too busy trying to put this toaster in the bathtub.
Oh, toaster bath.
Yeah, and with that said, this has been match 128, and we'll see you guys next time for match 129. Till then, folks.
No, we won't.